Spencer Oliver has arrived early, but that was all planned. He is in our midst, so we're going to start talking boxing now from this time until 1:45, and there's a reason for that, but we'll get to that. And it's fight week. Of course it is. It's Chris Eubank Jr. going in against Conor Benn live on talkSPORT this Saturday night from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in North London, and we look forward to it immensely. Spencer, you've been in the thick of it all week, and we're only at Thursday. There's a lot more to come, plus a weigh-in, of course. What's your takeaway so far?
I think it all kicks off from today, if I'm totally honest. Like, the emotions will run high from today. I think reality's kicked in. The boys are getting closer. They're getting tighter at the weight. The weighing, obviously, tomorrow. And so, you know, when they're hungry, they get a little bit edgy. It's all been very calm up till now. I'm going to be totally honest. I think they've been quite calmer towards each other, but I'm expecting fireworks really from today. Okay.
Simon, alongside me here, we know that the press conference for the two fighters is this evening at 6 o'clock. Ben Shalom is with us, promoter, of course, of Chris Eubank Jr., and Ben joins us live. Ben, good morning, what's left of it. What should we expect this evening when the two fighters get together for the press conference? Is it more fun and games?
To be honest, it's been more tense this week. I think the press conferences at the start of the camp, people aren't making weight. The fight's not upon us, but it's definitely tense this week. I think Conor, for me, has realised the magnitude of this event. I think Chris, this is second nature to him. The big pay-per-view events, the big arenas, the big stadiums, but he's making weight, and it's not easy. It's not easy at later on in your career, and that's the advantage that Conor has. But Chris is in phenomenal shape. He's had a fantastic camp. But yeah, I expect a tense affair today, to be honest. I think there's a lot on the line. The careers are on the line. The legacy is on the line. The pride is on the line. And I think the reality is setting in that in 2 days' time, they're going to be facing off in front of 65,000 people at Tottenham Hotspur.
Ben, why has there been so much made of this making weight at 160 pounds when you look at Chris Eubank Jr., you know, you have to go back to 2018 when he was boxing at 168, you know, when he beat James DeGale. Since then, he's always boxed at 160 pounds. So why is there such a big thing surrounding, you know, the weight making right now?
Look, he's never boxed at a lesser weight than 160. I think as you get older, and as you'll know, it gets harder and harder and harder. And he has tried to remain at 160, of course, knowing that a lot of the big fights for him are in the middleweight division, but it doesn't make it any easier, and particularly when you have a rehydration clause as well. But as I say, I've worked with Chris for a fair few fights now. He's always professional. He'll always make the weight. He'll always do it. But is it easy? Absolutely not. And that's the advantage I think Conor Benn has. But yeah, Chris is ready. Weigh in tomorrow, and then the fight's on.
Ben, I'm going to let Simon come in a second. Since we have you live, I'll ask you live. Is there a definitive rematch clause no matter what the outcome is on Saturday night?
Absolutely. It's a 2-fight deal. That's what both fighters have agreed. The next one, I believe, will be in October time. But look, for us, Chris is going to do the job twice. I think those first 3 rounds, we're well aware. I mean, people can say what they want, but we're well aware the younger, explosive Conor Benn is going to stick it on him. And it's whether he meets fire with fire, and that's what we think will happen. So comes through this fight, and then there will be a second one in October.
So, Simon, you're not having it now, and you might not have to have it again in October.
Old rope sells, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure the Saudis would be delighted to take the second fight. It's interesting that Ben talks about the scale of the both fighters' experiences, because neither one of them have walked into an environment like this. Neither one of them have fought in front of this kind of scale of attendance. And the last time that Chris Eubank Jr. fought in an environment of the kind of scale that we're talking about, which was at the Manchester Arena, or not the last time Prime Friday, he got knocked out by Liam Smith. I'm interested to see what the dynamic is where he now positions himself, because when he walked into that arena, he was the villain. I think the dynamics have changed. He's paid for undercards, and in terms of the first fight with Conor Benn that was put off for obvious reasons, the dynamics around Chris have changed. So he'll be walking into an environment where he's going to be better received than the environment he walked into when he got knocked out by Liam Smith, which was a big atmosphere.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
So from that point of view, you think he'd be the more popular winner?
Well, I think he'll be the more popular more received, more popular when he walks into the ring. If he puts on a great performance, he'll be a popular winner. If he doesn't, he won't.
Yeah, but definitely, I think the roles have totally reversed. He's always played that pantomime villain like his dad did many years ago. And I think that, he's going to go into this one and the crowds are actually going to be on his side. And it'll be interesting to see how he deals with that. But, he's one of those guys that copes with all that sort of stuff. I think he feeds off all that sort of stuff. He's very calm, very reserved in his approach. And, I think that'll go down well with Chris.
He's box office. Irrespective of what I think of the fight, Chris Eubank Jr. in press conferences is box office.
So, Ben, of all the fights you've been involved in, will this be your biggest night yet as a promoter?
Look, I think so. I was just going to say around that, I think it is going to be the Chris Eubank Jr. procession. I think the whole of British boxing wants Chris Eubank Jr. to win. I think the whole of Britain wants Chris Eubank Jr. to win. I think the history of this fight, what happened the first time, the failed drugs test, I think it would be a disaster if Conor Benn wins on Saturday night. I genuinely believe that's how people feel. As you said, he's used to being the villain, but on Saturday he'll very much be the crowd's favourite. Ben,
I was going to jump in. When you signed Chris Eubank Jr., Ben, was it with the promise of I will get you a legacy fight such as this, or the promise of I will get you a world title fight?
Simply, I will make you the most amount of money out of anyone else, and that's why we did the deal. That's what Chris Eubank Jr. Wants to get from his career. He wants to be involved in the biggest fights, of course. He wants to have the legacy, but ultimately, it's about delivering the biggest money fights, making sure we negotiate the best purses for him, making sure that we put him in the best position possible. And to be honest, he's going into Saturday night, the crowd's favourite, British boxing's favourite, against Conor Benn. And what a night it will be. So, look, is it the biggest event size-wise? I've never seen anything like it. I mean, in boxing, everything feels big to me. I said it yesterday, it always feels big. But it's only when you walk outside of boxing and people are talking to you about this fight, everyone stops you on the street about Eubank Ben. It really has taken the country by storm. Whether Simon likes it or not, I have seen this is going to cross over in every corner of the country.
So in terms of British bouts, Ben, will this be the biggest ever in terms of interest, tickets and pay-per-view?
The biggest ever. The market's changed. There's piracy now. There's the digital world. But I think numbers-wise, interest-wise, it's going to be right up there. I think it can be bigger than Frochgroves. I think it's definitely the biggest fight for me outside of the heavyweight division that there's been in recent memory. It's going to be right up there.
I mean, Simon, when you hear that, and yet you still say, no, it's not for me.
Yeah, that's fine. Different strokes for different folks, isn't it? I mean, I look at the whole fight and I look at the whole scale of it. I think it's laughable that a welterweight's going in with a middleweight and a welterweight that's not even established in his own division, and that we're making such a hullabaloo about it. And we're making such a hullabaloo about it because of their fathers. And then you've got their fathers and their narratives, and they're not, these two fighters are not in the same league as their fathers. And if people want to buy it, fantastic, I get it. People want to watch Jake Paul, fantastic, I get it. I don't have to.
Simon, all people want to see is a fight with jeopardy, a 50-50 fight between two guys.
This is a money fight. The whole framework of this fight is that you guys, well done you, have leveraged the name Ben and Eubank and turned it into money.
I don't believe that. I think maybe the first time.
Let's hope it's not a farce, Ben. You won't be getting your rematch.
We will be getting the rematch.
If it's a farce, you won't be getting a rematch.
How can it be a farce?
Well, we'll see, won't we? We'll see, won't we?
The first 3, 4, 5 rounds of this fight will be the best rounds that you're ever likely to see in a British boxing ring.
Well, we'll see.
Ben Shalom, Chief Executive Boxer. Then, of course, Chris Eubank Jr., promoter. Thank you so much for joining us. It's live in talkSPORT, and we'll discuss it further the other side of 12 noon.